The crystal towers of Zephyros Prime sparkled like diamonds against the purple sky. Beautiful gardens floated in the air, held up by gentle energy fields that hummed with a soft blue light. The Zephyrians had built their worlds to be perfect. No violence, no war, no pain. For thousands of years they had lived in peace, but today everything was different. Today, the sky was filled with black smoke, and the sound of explosions echoed across the floating cities. Ambassador Veltar stood in the highest tower of the capital city, watching his world burn. His pale blue skin showed the stress lines that only came with great fear. His forearms trembled as he held the communication device. His large silver eyes were filled with tears. "We need help," he whispered into the transmitter. "Anyone who can hear this message, please help us." The Kroneth Empire had come 3 days ago. Their dark ships had dropped from the sky like falling stones. They were made of living metal and crystal, but not the beautiful crystal of Zephyrian cities. This was black crystal that seemed to eat light itself. The Kroneth soldiers were nothing like the peaceful Zephyrians. They were tall and strong, with bodies made of silicon and metal. They did not need to breathe air or drink water. They ate rocks and metal instead. They had come to Zephyros Prime to feed on the planet itself. Veltar had tried to talk to them. The Zephyrians always solved problems by talking. They would sit in circles and discuss things until everyone agreed. It had worked for their entire history, but the Kroneth did not want to talk. They wanted to consume. Their leader, a massive creature with glowing red eyes, had laughed when Veltar offered to share their planet. "We do not share," the creature had said. "We take everything." Now, the floating gardens were falling from the sky. The crystal towers were cracking and breaking. The Zephyrians were running and screaming, but they had nowhere to go. They had no weapons. They had no soldiers. They had forgotten how to fight because they had never needed to fight. Far away, in a different part of the galaxy, Captain Lisa Monroe was having a very normal day. She was sitting in the command chair of the UES Ranger, drinking coffee and reading reports. The Ranger was a human exploration ship, not very big but very tough. Lisa had been captain for 5 years, and she liked the quiet life of mapping new star systems. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. "Captain," said Lieutenant Bobby Clark from the communications station, "we are getting a strange signal." Lisa put down her coffee cup. "What kind of signal?" "It sounds like a distress call, but is not in any language our computers know. The signal is very weak. It is coming from the other side of the nebula." Lisa walked over to Bobby's station. The young man was one of the best communication officers in the human fleet. If he said the signal was strange, it was probably very strange. "Can you clean it up?" Lisa asked. Bobby worked on his controls for several minutes. Slowly, the static cleared and a voice came through the speakers. It was speaking in a language that sounded like singing, but the voice was full of fear and pain. "We need help," the voice said. The ship's computer had learned enough of the language to translate the basic words. "We are peaceful people. We have no weapons. They are destroying our world. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." Lisa felt her stomach twist. She had heard distress calls before, but this one was different. This one was from people who had never had to ask for help before. "Bobby, can you track where this signal is coming from?" "Yes, Captain. It is coming from a star system about 6 light years away. The system has 12 planets, and the signal is coming from the 3rd planet." Lisa thought for a moment. The Ranger was not a warship. It had some weapons, but they were mainly for protection against pirates and space monsters. If someone was attacking a whole planet, the Ranger would not be much help, but she could not ignore the call for help. That was not the human way. "Send a message to command," Lisa said. "Tell them we have received a distress call from an unknown species. Request instructions." While Bobby sent the message, Lisa listened to more of the alien transmission. The voice belonged to someone named Veltar. He was begging for help in a dozen different languages. Some of them were languages that humans had heard before, from other alien species they had met. "We are called the Zephyrians," Veltar's voice said. "We have lived in peace for 10,000 years. We have never hurt anyone. We do not know how to fight. The Kronith Empire has come to our world. They are eating our cities. They are killing our people. We cannot stop them." Lisa closed her eyes. She had heard of the Kronith Empire before. They were bad news. They traveled from world to world, eating everything they could find. They had destroyed dozens of civilizations, but the Zephyrians did not know that. They thought they could ask for help and someone would send them medicine or food or maybe some technical advice. They had no idea what kind of help they really needed. The ship's computer beeped again. "Captain," Bobby said, "we have a response from command." Lisa read the message on her screen. It was from Admiral Patricia Wells, the commander of the Human Defense Fleet. The message was short and to the point. "Message received. Distress call confirmed. Fleet is being assembled. Proceed to coordinates and gather intelligence. Do not engage enemy forces. Help is coming." Lisa smiled. She knew Admiral Wells. The woman was tough as nails and had never lost a battle. If she was assembling a fleet, it meant the humans were taking this seriously. "Bobby, send a message back to the Zephyrians. Tell them that help is coming. Tell them to hold on." "What should I tell them about what kind of help is coming?" Bobby asked. Lisa thought about that. "How do you explain to a peaceful species that you are sending them the most dangerous predators in the galaxy? How do you tell them that humans do not send medical ships to fight wars? Just tell them that Earth has received their message and that help is on the way," Lisa said. "Tell them to stay strong." On Zephyros Prime, Valtar received the message and felt hope for the first time in days. Someone had heard their call for help. Someone was coming to save them. He did not know that Admiral Wells was not sending doctors or engineers. He did not know that the human fleet heading toward his world contained enough firepower to crack a planet in half. He did not know that humans had been fighting wars for their entire history and had gotten very good at it. All he knew was that help was coming. The beings called humans were coming to save them. He imagined them arriving in small, peaceful ships, filled with medical supplies and wise advisors who would help them talk to the Kronith. He had no idea that the humans were coming in warships. He had no idea that they were coming to fight. He had no idea that the Kronith Empire was about to meet something much more dangerous than they had ever seen before. The Zephyrians had asked for aid. They were about to get something very different. They were about to get a Deathworlder Flotilla, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 3 days had passed since the humans sent their message. On Zephyros Prime, Ambassador Valtar was trying to keep his people calm. The Kronith forces had taken control of 2 of the outer cities, and their black ships were moving closer to the capital every hour. Valtar stood in the emergency council chamber with the other Zephyrian leaders. The beautiful crystal walls were cracked from the vibrations of distant explosions. The floating chairs that usually moved with gentle grace now shook and trembled. "The humans said help was coming," said elder scientist Quinara. She was very old, even by Zephyrian standards, and her forearms moved slowly as she spoke. "When will they arrive?" "Their message did not say," Valtar replied. "But they seemed confident. They said their leader had received our call and that we should stay strong." Defense Coordinator Murdoch was pacing back and forth. He was younger than the others and had been put in charge of their defense systems. The problem was that the Zephyrians had no real defense systems. They had some old machines that were supposed to protect them, but nobody remembered how to use them. "I have been trying to understand the old defense computers," Murdoch said. "But the instructions are written in the ancient language. I think they are supposed to create some kind of energy barrier around the planet. Can you make them work?" asked Valtar. "I do not know. The machines have been sleeping for 10,000 years. Even if I can wake them up, I do not know if they will be strong enough to stop the Kronith." Outside the council chamber, the Zephyrian people were preparing for the worst. They packed their most precious belongings and said goodbye to their beautiful cities. Parents held their children close and told them that everything would be okay. Even though they did not believe it themselves, the Zephyrians had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten what war looked like. They thought the Kronith would be reasonable. They thought they could negotiate. They thought that if they offered to share their planet, the Cronoth would be satisfied, but the Cronoth were not interested in sharing. They wanted everything far away in the cold darkness of space. Admiral Patricia Wells was preparing for war. Her flagship, the UES Thunderbolt, was the largest warship in the human fleet. It was 2 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Patricia stood on the bridge, looking at the tactical display. Around her, the human fleet was taking shape. 12 heavy cruisers, 36 destroyers, 4 dreadnoughts, and 2 massive carrier ships. Each ship was filled with soldiers and weapons and the kind of technology that made humans very dangerous. "Admiral," said Commander Jake Harrison, "the fleet is ready to move. All ships are reporting full weapons and supplies." Patricia nodded. She was 50 years old and had been fighting wars for most of her life. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belts and hostile aliens near the galactic rim. She had never lost a battle, and she did not plan to start now. "What do we know about the enemy?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres stepped forward. He was the fleet's intelligence officer, and he had been studying everything they knew about the Cronoth Empire. "The Cronoth are silicon-based life forms," he said. "They are very strong and very hard to kill. They do not need air or water. They eat metal and rock to survive." "How many ships do they have?" Patricia asked. "We think about 40 ships in the attack fleet. They are not as advanced as our ships, but they are tough. Their armor is made of some kind of living metal that can repair itself." Patricia smiled. She had fought enemies with self-repairing armor before. "What about the people we are going to help? The Zephyrians?" Ryan said. "They are completely peaceful. They have no weapons, no army, no experience with war. They have been sending us messages asking when our medical ships will arrive." "Medical ships?" Patricia laughed. "Do they think we are sending doctors to fight a war?" "They do not understand what war is," Ryan explained. "They think the Cronoth can be reasoned with. They think we are coming to help them negotiate." Patricia shook her head. She had met peaceful species before, but never one that was this naive. "What do they think we are going to do when we get there?" "They think we will arrive with small ships full of medical supplies and advisors. They think we will help them talk to the Cronoth and work out some kind of deal." "They have no idea what is coming," Patricia said. "No idea at all," Ryan agreed. On the other side of the galaxy, the Cronoth invasion fleet was having its own meeting. General Korthax stood in the command center of his flagship. Looking at the holographic display of Zephyros Prime, the planet was beautiful, with its floating cities and crystal towers, but Korthax did not care about beauty. He cared about the rich minerals in the planet's core. "The resistance is weaker than expected," reported Captain Vexenor, one of Korthax's officers. "The Zephyrians have no weapons and no military training. They keep trying to talk to us." "Let them talk," Korthax said. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "Words cannot stop us." "How much longer until we reach the capital city?" 2 more days, Vexenor replied. "The outer cities are already under our control. We are extracting minerals from them now." Korthax was pleased. This conquest was going exactly as planned. The Zephyrians were exactly like all the other peaceful species the Cronoth had conquered. They were weak, naive, and completely helpless. "Our sensors detected some unusual transmissions," Vexenor continued. "The Zephyrians have been sending messages to someone. They might be calling for help." "Help?" Korthax laughed. "From who?" "We have conquered 47 different worlds. We have never met a species that could stand against us. Let them call for help. It will not matter." But Korthax was wrong. He had never met humans before. Back on the UES Thunderbolt, Admiral Patricia Wells was reading the latest intelligence reports. The Zephyrians had been sending them updates on the situation. The messages were heartbreaking. The peaceful aliens were begging for help, and they still believed that talking could solve everything. "Admiral," said Captain Helen Rodriguez, "the Zephyrians are asking when our diplomatic team will arrive. They want to know if we have experience negotiating with hostile species." Patricia almost laughed. "Tell them our diplomatic team is on the way." Tell them we have a lot of experience dealing with hostile species. What should we tell them about our methods? Helen asked. Do not tell them anything specific, Patricia said. They would not understand anyway. She was right. The Zephyrians had no words in their language for concepts like orbital bombardment or scorched earth tactics. They had no idea what humans meant when they talked about acceptable casualties or collateral damage. The human fleet continued moving toward Zephyrian space. Every ship was ready for battle. The crews were experienced fighters who had survived dozens of conflicts. They cleaned their weapons and checked their armor and prepared for another war, but this war would be different. This time, they were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting to protect a species that could not protect itself. They were fighting to save people who had never learned to fight. The Zephyrians were still hoping for a peaceful solution. They were still planning to negotiate with the Kroneth. They were still expecting the humans to arrive with medical supplies and wise advisors. They had no idea that the humans were coming with enough firepower to turn the Kroneth fleet into space dust. They had no idea that Admiral Patricia Wells had never met a problem that could not be solved with superior firepower and tactical planning. The Zephyrians had asked for aid. They were about to discover that human aid came in a very different form than they expected. They were about to learn that sometimes the only way to protect peace was to be very, very good at war. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system like a pack of hungry wolves. Admiral Patricia Wells stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderbolt, watching the tactical display as her ships took their positions. The sight before her made her jaw clench with anger. Zephyros Prime was burning. The beautiful crystal cities that the Zephyrians had built over thousands of years were cracked and broken. Black smoke rose from the floating gardens that had once sparkled in the sunlight. The planet looked like a jewel that someone had stepped on. Admiral, said Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres, I am reading 42 Kroneth ships in the system. They are spread out across 3 planets, with the main force approaching the Zephyrian capital. What about defenses? Patricia asked. The Zephyrians have managed to activate some kind of energy shield around their capital city, but it is very weak. The Kroneth are breaking through it slowly. Patricia nodded. She had seen this before. A peaceful species trying to use ancient weapons they did not understand, fighting an enemy that lived for war. Without help, the Zephyrians would be extinct within days. Send the message to all ships, Patricia said. Battle stations. Prepare. For combat, across the human fleet, alarm bells began to ring. Soldiers ran to their positions. Weapon systems came online. The ships that had seemed quiet and peaceful moments before suddenly became deadly predators. Captain Danny Foster commanded the reconnaissance ship UES Falcon. His job was to scout the enemy and report back to the admiral. He moved his ship closer to the Kroneth fleet, staying hidden behind a large asteroid. What do you see, Danny? Patricia asked over the communication system. The Kroneth ships are uglier than I expected, Danny replied. They look like they were built from spare parts and bad dreams, but they are tough. I can see energy weapons and some kind of mining equipment that they are using as weapons. Any sign that they know we are here? Not yet. They are too busy. Attacking the planet, wait. Danny paused. Admiral, I think we have a problem. What kind of problem? The Zephyrians are trying to communicate with us. They are sending us landing coordinates and asking when our medical team will arrive. Patricia closed her eyes. This was going to be harder than she thought. Put me through to them. A few moments later, the face of Ambassador Veltar appeared on the main screen. He looked tired and scared, but his large silver eyes were full of hope. Behind him, Patricia could see the cracked walls of the Zephyrian council chamber. Thank the stars you have arrived, Veltar said. We have prepared a safe landing area for your medical ships. Our people are ready to help you unload your supplies? Patricia looked at the alien's trusting face and felt her heart break a little. Ambassador, she said slowly, I think there has been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Veltar's 4 arms moved in a gesture of confusion. We asked for aid. You said you were sending help. We are sending help? Patricia said, "but not the kind of help you think." Before Veltar could respond, alarms started blaring in the Zephyrian command center. "Admiral," one of the Zephyrian technicians called out, "the Cronoth are breaking through our shields. They will reach the capital in 6 hours." Patricia made a decision. "Ambassador, I need you to listen to me carefully. We are not here to negotiate with the Cronoth. We are not here to share your planet with them. We are here to destroy them." Veltar's eyes went wide. "Destroy them? But surely we can talk to them. Surely we can find a peaceful solution." The Cronoth do not want to talk," Patricia said. "They want to eat your planet. The only way to stop them is to fight them. But we do not fight," Veltar protested. "We have never fought. We do not know how to fight." "That is why we are here," Patricia said. "You do not need to fight. We will fight for you." On the other side of the system, General Korthax was having his own problems. His sensors had detected the human fleet, but he could not understand what he was seeing. The human ships were bigger than anything he had ever fought. They carried weapons that his computers could not identify. "What are those ships?" he asked. "His officers, unknown design," replied Captain Vexener. "We have never seen anything like them. They are much more advanced than the Zephyrian ships." "How many are there?" 54 ships total. The largest one is bigger than our entire command ship." Korthax was not worried. He had fought many different species, and they were all the same. Big ships, small ships, it did not matter. The Cronoth were stronger. "Send a message to their leader," Korthax said. "Tell them that this system belongs to the Cronoth Empire. Tell them to leave or be destroyed." The message reached Admiral Patricia Wells a few minutes later. She read it and started laughing. "Ryan," she called to her intelligence officer, "the Cronoth want us to leave. What should we tell them?" Ryan asked. "Tell them no," Patricia said. "Tell them that this system is under human protection now. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender or we will destroy them." "Will they surrender?" "I doubt it. But we have to give them the chance." Back on Zephyros Prime, the Zephyrian leaders were having an emergency meeting. They had been listening to the communications between the humans and the Cronoth, and they were starting to understand what was about to happen. "The humans want to fight," said Elder Scientist Quinara. "They want to have a war." "But war is wrong," said Defense Coordinator Murdoch. "War is evil." "War destroys everything beautiful." The Cronoth are already destroying everything beautiful," Veltar pointed out. "Maybe the humans are right. Maybe fighting is the only way to stop them." "But if we let the humans fight for us, what does that make us?" Quinara asked. "What kind of people are we if we let others do violence in our name?" It was a question that had no easy answer. The Zephyrians had built their entire civilization on the idea that violence was wrong. They had lived in peace for 10,000 years. But now they were faced with a choice. Let the humans fight for them, or watch their world be destroyed on the used Thunderbolt. Admiral Patricia Wells was watching the clock. The Cronoth had 30 minutes left to surrender. She did not think they would take the offer, but she had to try. "Admiral," said Captain Helen Rodriguez, "we are getting more communications from the Zephyrians. They are asking us to be careful. They want to know if we can fight the Cronoth without hurting any innocent people." "Innocent people?" Patricia asked. "The Cronoth are eating their planet." "There are no innocent Cronoth. They do not understand," Helen said. "They think all life is sacred. They think even the Cronoth deserve to live." Patricia shook her head. She had met idealistic species before, but never one this naive. "Tell them we will do our best to avoid unnecessary casualties, but tell them that some things are worth fighting for." The hour was almost up. The Cronoth had not responded to the human ultimatum. On both sides, ships were preparing for battle. The Cronoth were confident in their strength and experience. The humans were confident in their technology and training. Only the Zephyrians were uncertain. They watched from their dying planet as 2 armies of aliens prepared to fight over their home. They had asked for help, and now they were about to see what human help really looked like. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said they would help, they meant it, and when humans went to war, they did not play games. They won. The hour was up. General Corthax had not surrendered. Admiral Patricia Wells looked at the tactical display one more time, then gave the order that would change everything. "All ships," she said into her communicator, "this is Admiral Wells. The enemy has refused to surrender. We are now at war. Show them what humans can do." The first shot came from Captain Helen Rodriguez and her destroyer, the used Viper. She had been waiting at the edge of the asteroid field, watching a group of Kronith scout ships. When the Admiral gave the order, Helen did not hesitate. The Viper's plasma cannons lit up the darkness of space. The energy beams struck the lead Kronith ship with the force of a small star. The alien vessel, which had seemed so strong and dangerous, simply disappeared in a ball of fire. "Direct hit," Helen reported. "Target destroyed." The other Kronith ships turned toward the Viper, but they were too slow. Helen's gunners were already firing again. 2 more Kronith ships exploded before they could even raise their shields. "This is easier than I expected," Helen said to her. "Crew, these Kronith ships are tough, but they are not fast enough." On the Kronith flagship, General Corthax watched his scouts die and felt something he had never felt before: fear. The human weapons were much more powerful than anything he had ever seen. They cut through Kronith armor like it was paper. "All ships," he commanded, "attack formation. Destroy the human fleet." The Kronith ships moved toward the human fleet like a dark wave. There were 42 of them, each one bristling with weapons. And hungry for battle, they had conquered dozens of worlds. They had never lost a fight, but they had never fought humans before. Major Carl Stevens was leading the human fighter squadrons from the carrier ship UES Eagle. He had 60 small fighter craft under his command, each one faster and more agile than anything the Kronith had ever seen. "Eagle Squadron," Carl said to his pilots, "we are going to hit their supply ships first, cut off their fuel and ammunition, make them hungry and angry." The human fighters screamed through space like angry hornets. They were too small for the Kronith weapons to hit, but their own weapons were deadly accurate. They found the Kronith supply ships hiding behind a small moon and attacked without mercy. The Kronith supply ships were not built for fighting. They were built for carrying food and fuel and ammunition. When the human fighters hit them, they exploded like fireworks. In 5 minutes, the entire Kronith supply line was destroyed. "Supply ships eliminated," Carl reported to Admiral Wells. "The enemy fleet is now cut off from reinforcements." "Good work," Patricia replied. "Now hit their communication ships." Captain Nicole Parker was commanding a group of 6 heavy cruisers. She had been waiting for the right moment to strike, and now it had come. The Kronith fleet was focused on the human fighters, trying to swat them like flies. They did not see the cruisers coming from behind. Nicole's ships hit the Kronith fleet from the side with everything they had: quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, and kinetic bombardment systems all fired at once. The space around the Kronith fleet filled with explosions and fire. "Enemy formation is breaking apart," Nicole reported. "They are trying to scatter. Do not let them escape," Patricia ordered. "Hunt them down." The battle was not going the way General Corthax had expected. His ships were being destroyed faster than he could count them. The human weapons were too powerful, and the human tactics were too clever. His warriors, who had seemed so strong on the ground, were helpless in space. "Retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to the outer system." But Commander Frank Turner was waiting for them. He had taken 3 destroyers around the far side of the system, cutting off the Kronith escape route. When the alien ships tried to flee, they ran straight into Frank's trap. "Surprise," Frank said as his ships opened fire. "Going somewhere?" The Kronith ships were caught between Frank's destroyers and the main human fleet. They had nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. One by one, they were destroyed. On Zephyros Prime, the Zephyrian people watched the battle through their telescopes and sensors. They had never seen anything like it. The humans fought with a precision and brutality that shocked them. They did not just defeat their enemies. They hunted them down like animals. Ambassador Veltar was in the command center, watching the tactical. display with horror and amazement. "They are destroying the entire Cronoth fleet," he said to elder scientist Quinara. "Is that good or bad?" Quinara asked. "I do not know," Valtar replied. "The Cronoth were going to kill us all. But the humans ... they are so violent, so efficient at killing." "They are saving us," Defense Coordinator Murdoch pointed out. "Without them, we would all be dead." "Yes," Valtar agreed. "But what kind of people are we allied with now? What kind of beings are so good at war?" The battle was almost over. Of the 42 Cronoth ships that had entered the system, only 5 were still alive. They were badly damaged and trying to surrender. General Korthax was among them, his flagship crippled and burning. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Commander Ryan, "Torres, the surviving Cronoth ships are asking to surrender." "Do they now?" Patricia said. "After they refused our first offer? What should we do?" Patricia thought about it. The Cronoth had been planning to destroy an entire peaceful civilization. They had shown no mercy to the Zephyrians. But surrender was surrender, and humans had rules about these things. "Tell them to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded," Patricia said. "But keep our guns pointed at them. If they try anything, destroy them." The Cronoth ships shut down their weapons and waited. Human Marines boarded them and took the survivors prisoner. General Korthax was brought to the youth's Thunderbolt in chains. Patricia met him in the detention cell. The Cronoth general was tall and imposing, even in defeat. His red eyes glowed with hatred and confusion. "You fought well," Korthax said. "But I do not understand. The Zephyrians called for help. Why did you come? They are nothing to you." "They asked for help," Patricia said simply. "That was enough." "You destroyed my entire fleet for people you have never met?" "Yes," Korthax stared at her. "What kind of species are you?" "We are human," Patricia said. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Even if it means war, especially if it means war." The Cronoth general was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You are more dangerous than we are," he said. "We destroy for food and survival. You destroy for principle. The galaxy should fear you." "Only if they give us a reason to," Patricia replied. "The battle was over. The Cronoth fleet was destroyed. Zephyros Prime was safe. But the real consequences were just beginning. Word of the human victory would spread across the galaxy. Every species would hear about the peaceful Zephyrians, who had called for help and received a fleet of human warships. Some species would be grateful. Some would be terrified. All of them would remember that humans were not like other species. Humans did not just defend themselves. They defended others. They went to war for people they had never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. The Zephyrians were saved, but they would never be the same. They had learned that the galaxy was not a peaceful place. They had learned that sometimes the only way to protect peace was to be very good at war, and they had learned that their new human allies were very, very good at war. 2 weeks had passed since the battle. The burning wreckage of Cronoth ships still floated in space around Zephyros Prime, slowly cooling in the darkness. The Zephyrians had begun to repair their damaged cities, but the scars of war would take much longer to heal. Admiral Patricia Wells stood in the newly built human base on the 3rd moon of Zephyros Prime. Through the observation window, she could see the beautiful planet below, its crystal cities sparkling in the sunlight once again. But she could also see the human patrol ships moving through the system, their weapons ready to defend against any new threats. "The Cronoth prisoners are asking to be released," said Colonel Nancy Green, the commander of the human garrison. "They say they have learned their lesson and promise never to attack the Zephyrians again?" Patricia shook her head. "The Cronoth do not learn lessons, they only understand strength. Keep them locked up until we can send them back to their home worlds. With a message." "What kind of message?" "That this system is under human protection now. Anyone who attacks the Zephyrians will have to fight us." Colonel Nancy nodded. She had been chosen to stay behind and protect the Zephyrians after the main fleet left. It was an important job, but also a difficult one. The Zephyrians were grateful. for human help, but they were also afraid of their new protectors on the planet below. Ambassador Veltar was having his own problems. The Zephyrian people were safe, but they were also confused and frightened. They had never seen violence like what the humans had shown them. Many of them were having trouble sleeping. Haunted by dreams of exploding ships and burning cities, Veltar walked through the rebuilt council chamber, where the Zephyrian leaders were meeting to discuss their future. The crystal walls had been repaired, but everyone could still see the cracks where they had been damaged during the Cronoth attack. "The humans want to establish a permanent base in our system," said Elder Scientist Quinara. "They say it is for our protection, but what does that mean for us?" "It means we are safe," said Defense Coordinator Murdoch. "The humans destroyed the Cronoth fleet in a single day. No one will dare attack us now, but at what cost?" asked another counselor. "We have always been peaceful. Now we are protected by warriors. What does that make us?" It was a question that had no easy answer. The Zephyrians had built their entire civilization on the principles of peace and non-violence. They had never hurt anyone, and they had never wanted anyone to be hurt in their name. But now they were alive because humans had killed for them. Veltar received a message that Admiral Wells wanted to meet with him. He traveled to the human base, feeling nervous and uncertain. The human ships were impressive, but they were also frightening. They were built for war, and war was something the Zephyrians could not understand. Patricia met him in her office, which was simple and practical. The walls were covered with maps and tactical displays. Everything in the room was designed for function, not beauty. It was very different from Zephyrian architecture. "Ambassador," Patricia said, "we need to talk about the future." "What kind of future?" Veltar asked. "Your people are safe now, but safety requires constant vigilance. The galaxy is full of species like the Cronoth. They see peaceful civilizations as easy targets. So what do you suggest?" "We want to form an alliance," Patricia said, "a partnership between our species. We will protect you, and you can share your advanced technology with us." Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "What kind of technology?" "Your energy systems, your biotechnology, your terraforming equipment, things that can help both our species. And in return, we keep you safe. We make sure that what happened with the Cronoth never happens again." Veltar thought about it. The offer was generous, but it also meant accepting that the Zephyrians would always need protection. It meant giving up their independence and relying on a species that solved problems with violence. "My people are afraid of you," Veltar said. "Honestly, they are grateful, but they are also terrified. You are so good at war, so efficient at killing. They do not know how to live with that knowledge," Patricia sighed. "We did not want to frighten you. We came to help." "I know. And we are grateful. But helping someone and terrifying them can be the same thing." Patricia understood. She had seen this before with other peaceful species. They needed protection, but they hated the violence that protection required. It was a difficult balance. "What if we made some changes?" Patricia suggested. "What if we shared some of our defensive technology with you? Not weapons, but shields, and sensors and communication systems. Things that would help you protect yourselves. Would that work?" "It would be a start. You would still need our protection, but you would not be completely helpless." Veltar liked that idea. "My people would feel better if they could contribute to their own defense." "Good, we can start training your people in basic security and emergency procedures. Nothing violent, just practical skills." Over the following months, the Human-Zephyrian alliance slowly took shape. The humans established a small but permanent presence in the system, with Colonel Nancy Green commanding a garrison of 300 soldiers and a small fleet of patrol ships. The Zephyrians, meanwhile, began to learn about the larger galaxy. They discovered that there were hundreds of species out there, and not all of them were peaceful. Some were like the Cronoth, aggressive and dangerous. Others were neutral, interested only in trade and profit. A few were like the Zephyrians themselves, peaceful but vulnerable. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres set up a cultural exchange program. Human scientists worked with Zephyrian researchers, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. The humans were amazed by Zephyrian biotechnology and energy systems. The Zephyrians were fascinated by human engineering and problem-solving methods, but the most important exchange was philosophical. The humans learned about the Zephyrian commitment to peace and nonviolence. They began to understand that not all problems could be solved with force, and that sometimes the best victory was the one that avoided fighting altogether. The Zephyrians, on the other hand, learned that the galaxy was not a peaceful place. They learned that sometimes violence was necessary to protect the innocent. They learned that there was a difference between being peaceful and being defenseless. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy. Other species began to take notice of the young race from Earth. Some were impressed by human military power. Others were worried about human intentions. All of them realized that humans were not like other species they had met. The Galactic Trade Federation sent a delegation to Earth, hoping to establish formal diplomatic relations. The Stellar Republic offered to share intelligence about hostile species. Even the mysterious Void Dwellers, who rarely interacted with other species, sent a message of respect, but the most important message came from a small, peaceful species. Called the Gentle Ones, they were facing their own crisis, threatened by raiders and pirates. They had heard about what the humans had done for the Zephyrians, and they sent a simple request for help. Admiral Wells read the message and smiled. "Looks like we have another job," she said to her staff. "Should we send a fleet?" asked Captain Helen Rodriguez. "Send a small force first, let them know we are coming, but make sure they understand what kind of help we provide." "What should we tell them?" "Tell them that when humans offer help, we mean it. And tell them that sometimes the best way to protect peace is to be very good at war." The message was sent. Across the galaxy, peaceful species began to hope that they were not alone. They began to believe that somewhere out there, someone was willing to fight for them. The Zephyrians had asked for aid. They had received a Deathworlder Flotilla, and now the galaxy would never be the same.